Hello and welcome to the Solo Digital Agency Owners Podcast. My name is Anthony Pritchard. I am one of your hosts, along with your other host, Paratosh Parikh. And this is our first episode. We're just going to talk about how this idea came to fruition, who it's for, what we're going to talk about, and what you can expect if you tune in here every Sunday night at 8:30. We started a little late tonight, didn't we, Paratosh?
We did. I'm pretty sure. Hey
There was
everyone, my name is Paritosh, and Anthony and I are going to host this podcast. As we said, this is our first episode, and so do expect some goof ups.
Yeah. Well, that's really the life of a solo digital agency consultant. There's a lot to juggle. There is a lot of overwhelming information, and that's really what we hope to solve by coming together to share
That's
this
right.
information with our audience. So, overcoming technology and new advancing technology as it emerges is part of the job.
Absolutely. I mean, we are learning with every passing day, every passing minute or second. I think we are learning because for example, what we were just dealing with, right? We both knew how to do it. We both have done it in past, and still, I mean, last time glitches happens. Doesn't matter how much of an expert you are.
Mhm.
Facebook never tells you when they are changing some features. So I think you need to be on your toes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Paratosh, one of the reasons we came together is because we had a lot of the same things in common. We had both been in business for about 12 years. We were both inspired by the great Gary Vee, and we've both managed to survive for this amount of time in our business. And the demand for digital consultants is higher than ever, although being able to survive in the long run is a challenge because there's just so much that needs to be known by somebody who manages the digital for any organization, whether it be large or small. Paratosh, I think I'm interested to hear it again, but I know our visitors, our viewers would be interested to hear how is it that you became a digital marketing consultant and agency?
So, oh yeah, that goes a long back. All right. So, but it still seems like yesterday. So I'll start with that. My reason of becoming digital entrepreneur was, I mean, this was in my head that, I want to do something where I can. Obviously, I had this wrong thinking, which, people listening would agree who are digital agency owners, that, I had a wrong assumption that, I wanted to be my own boss, right?
Mhm.
Which is not true, which I learned a lot later in life that, when you own a business, everybody is your boss, whether it's doesn't matter which side of the table they are, but everybody is your boss, whether it's the team, whether it's the client, whether it's any other part of business you're dealing with.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do something where I can start employing people and affecting people's lives.
Mhm.
Digital agency was something. I was talking to somebody yesterday who happens to be a digital agency owner as well, that there are too many digital agencies, too many, actually too many. We are, I won't say they are, we are growing like mushrooms. So but still there is a gap, which is that people have started working for others, just like the whole infopreneur bubble, that everybody who has just came out of college, I'm not saying they're not, but everybody is a guru these days,
Mhm.
right? Before actually getting an expertise on the craft itself, right? They have started to teach it to everyone else. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Mhm.
So yeah, to answer your question, so that was the reason why I came into existence. While I was studying, I started this, and rest is history.
Yeah, I love the story because it's filled with overcoming challenges and making mistakes, but taking ownership for the mistakes, asking for forgiveness, asking for another try, and committing to you know giving the end user the best experience. And that's why I really love the name of your organization. Uh, the UX design experts or end user design experts, when you design for the end user, you really can't go wrong.
Absolutely. And let me tell you one very interesting story regarding this whole thing. That when we were discussing this domain, we did a lot of keyword research. Obviously, I didn't wanted to come up with something like Denver web designer or web design in Denver or something like that. So we came across this uxdesignexperts.com. Now I was having a very ironical and heated discussion in my own head with myself, that how can you call yourself experts,
Hmm.
right? Because I have a belief that you know it's to call yourself expert is a wrong statement, or maybe it's my humility, or I don't know, maybe I'm not confident, whatever that is, that it probably needs, I think, 20 more years for me to say that I'm an expert. Just after 12 years, I don't think it was right for me to call myself an expert. But yeah, I got to experience that we were doing things a bit better than what others were doing. And these are clients feedback. This is not a kind of where I'm just talking about myself or how great we are,
Hmm.
but these are some client feedback. And I think, yeah, so experience is what you can sell these days. As far as technology or craft is concerned, it'll take almost a lifetime for you to get an expertise on any kind of craft.
Yeah, I've heard people say that the information age is dead and it's over, and people are not willing to pay for information anymore because they know they can have it freely accessible to them at any time on almost any device. But what they
Absolutely.
are willing to pay for is to someone to give them a good experience while using the information, or to simply take them by the hand to help them avoid all of the information that they don't need and just to be able to use the information that they do need. So, I want
Absolutely.
yeah, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself, but before I do that, I want to go over uh, the whole premise of this podcast and why we're doing it. And so Paratosh and I came up with some subjects that we thought would be interesting to solo digital agency owners. These are those topics, and Paratosh and I can go through these one by one,
Mhm.
and we can just focus on one of them for each podcast, so that when we we do come to our platform, we're coming specifically with one topic. We're not just using a shotgun approach and trying to talk about everything at the same time, because each one of these topics applies directly to the consulting job that a solo digital agency does with their clients. Would you like to touch on any of those subjects, Partosh?
I would like to start that you have chosen one of the best images on the feast and famine slide,
Uh,
right? I
yeah.
really, I really like that one, because that exactly is the feast and famine cycle. So that picture is quite spot on.
Yeah. And you know that cycle as a digital agency. If you're not working on the business, then when you're working in the business, you become stagnant and your growth plateaus and the expenses catch up, and there's not a feast happening at your table, is there?
Absolutely. And I think, there has been quite a long time, where I have suffered with this problem for a very long time.
Mhm.
But, now when I look back, I can tell you that it was good that I didn't jump on the stuff. For example, when you talk about feast and famine, the best way to come out of feast and famine is, let's say, getting into the recurring pricing model. The problem with recurring pricing model is I was known to it right from the very first day, 12 years back.
Mhm.
Il- 11 years back, not 12 years back.
Yeah.
So, but still, I didn't start it because, as a digital agency owner, the biggest mistake people make that I see generally is that, they start offering a service when they are not completely known to the service, to the quality of service, to their deliverables, what they're committing, right? So I took almost a big period of 7 to 8 years to get comfortable with what I'm offering, get confident about our offerings, which
Hmm.
is a very long span of time. The best example to explain this state is that we've moved on from hosting one hosting to another, to then third one, next on to figuring out which hosting is actually a stable one. Obviously all the big names I like, none of them, right? It's a
Mm,
harsh statement to make on on a platform like this, but I'll still won't hesitate in saying that it took me a long time just to come up with a stable hosting.
yeah. So if you're an agency and you've got questions like this is a great platform where you can come and ask these types of questions. We were also planning to host a master hour where either you or I open up the office to just 1 hour a week to field questions of random natures. Um,
Absolutely.
but if you're an agency and you haven't figured out new Google Analytics 4, or you haven't come up with a template audit system that you can use, um, maybe you want to do more development in your own ability to improve your lead generation for your clients, or get some shortcuts for some better SEO performance. This is the place for you. We want to provide that platform and continuously deliver value through these subjects. We're certainly open to any ideas you might have for subject matter. We chose Sunday night. It's not a usual night for a business idea, but we know that as a solo digital agency owner, you're in a grind. You committed to this, you accepted this invitation, and this is the time of the week that you prepare for your week. If you're going to have a good week, you better prepare for it. And so you better set aside some time Saturday, Sunday night to make sure your ducks are in a row. We want to provide some of that motivation and inspiration for you so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. And that's why we chose this night of the week. Um, I knew that I would have it open because I find myself at my desk on every Sunday night, um, with that idea in mind that I want to have a really good week. And so, unless there's anything else you want to share, Paratosh, in our opening episode, I'll close it out with my story on how I became independent solo digital agency. And we can just look forward to next week when we share our first topic, which is the digital footprint. How do you set up the best practices for your client so that they are able to retain ownership of all of their data, and that if they turn you off as a marketer, that you can step back into the picture later on when they want to turn on the faucet, and everything will be in place. You don't have to start from scratch again.
Absolutely. I think, guys, I can vouch for this one, because when Anthony was explaining me about the whole digital footprint, right, I was very excited, and it was very useful, right? So I can certainly tell you that next episode is going to be really awesome in terms of what digital footprint is. And when we'll start the interaction with you all as well, right, we'll get to know that what are the different ways how this can be utilized. Now, before we get into the interesting story of how Anthony became Anthony, right? So before that, I would just like to quickly do a couple of things. One is that this podcast or the group, right, which
Mhm,
you can access at solodigital.agencyowners.com. It's a Facebook group, right?
mhm.
The
That's
whole
right.
idea of setting up this group, starting this podcast, right, or going live on different platforms is just one thing. And that is, you need to have a place where you can be vulnerable, right? We all are digital agency owners, and we all have suffered and maybe still suffering from the imposter syndrome, right, where we just cannot be vulnerable, right? We have to constantly do this boasting of how awesome we are, how awesome our agency or our solutions is, but there is hardly any place where we can actually be vulnerable. In fact, in past couple of months, I have seen groups where you can actually do the The backbiting, is that the right word? Right. The groups where you can do the you can talk about clients back, you can talk behind clients back. Of
Yeah.
course, that is a fun part of our lives, so of course we will be doing that as well. But I just wanted to say this one more time, that this is a place where you can be vulnerable. And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm saying so is, and the whole reason, while we were brainstorming about this whole setup, me and Anthony, was that we had nobody to hold our hands when we were starting out, right? So the actual human thinking, the envious nature of a human, says that we should not be doing that as well. But the
Mhm.
fact is that we wanted to be that hand, not that we are capable or expert in anything, but we just wanted to be, we just wanted to stand along with you. So
Mhm.
that is the whole reason of doing this, of what you're doing. I am not a native English speaker, so by the way, if you have any problem in understanding my accent, right, please feel free to ask. And just make sure that you are vulnerable and you are talking what you actually want to talk, that you have always dreamed of, that I wish I had somebody. So probably, if everything goes well, those wishes have came true, and this group is going to be that place which is going to be fun to hang out, which is going to be a place where you can actually be true to yourself, true
Mhm.
to people who are not going to judge you. And
Mhm.
if anybody is judging you, they're just making a mistake for themselves, right?
Oh. Yeah,
And for
thanks.
anything, any idea, right, please let us know, because we are also growing with every passing second, right? So if you have any inputs, feel free to let us know.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing up that vulnerability and that safe container idea, Paratosh. This is definitely a club of like-minded individuals who, are separated in different parts of the nation or even in the globe, and we understand that there's more than enough to go around, and that we can't do everything ourselves. And we're silly to think that we could. So we're here to come together and help one another. And it just feels much better to be in business when you're not all on an island. No man is an island. No woman is an island.
Absolutely. So let's hear it from Anthony. Anthony, we all would love to know how you became what you are. And guys, let me just do the groundwork here, that once you will get to know more about Anthony, you will be amazed that the things that he has figured out. He has basically conquered all the fears that you have with the paid marketing, right? And I am one of those, right? So let me start by saying that this is not coming from that as a host or a co-host, we're just talking about each other, but he actually pulled me out of the fear in which I was from past 12 years. So
Mhm.
trust me, you would love to know where this is coming from and what he's about. Over to
Yeah.
you, Anthony.
Well, thanks. I think the irony of this story, Paratosh, is that I stumbled upon this without having a real intention, but um, with having a question that I continued to ask myself. And I wasn't going to stop until I answered that question. So, as the story goes, the year was 2007, and my parents had just given me a flip cam. And this was like this little piece of, plastic. It was the first time you could record HD video in your hand. And it had a little fob that flipped out, and you could stick it into your laptop and transfer the files. It was called a flip cam. And I kept asking myself, what am I going to say? That was the question. I'm not an actor. I'm not a stand up comedian. If I try to remember these lines, they're going to come out all wrong, and I'm going to look silly. So I might as well not even try. And then, as good ideas do, they came to me in the shower, where all good ideas come from. And I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just look at the camera like it's my next client. And at the time, I was a fix and flip contractor. I was working for real estate investors, and I was a licensed general contractor in Denver. and I was doing all the remodeling jobs, and I was doing multiple houses at the same time. I was managing subcontractors, and so I was talking the talk every day all the time anyways. And so I just looked into that camera lens and I said, "See this house behind me? My client just paid $300,000 for the home. They're going to put $70,000 into the home, and hopefully they're going to sell it for a nice profit of $490,000." And I did my walkthrough of the house, and the camera lens did all the work. It could see the relationship I had with my subcontractors. It could see the cleanliness of my job site. And I'm not kidding. 3 days after I published it, I got a phone call from a guy who saw the video. He was in the same neighborhood, and he said, "Can you come take a look at my kitchen? I'd like you to give me a bid." And I said, "Well, absolutely. Sure. What do you got going?" He's like, "I'm remodeling my kitchen." So when I got over there and I talked to him, he said, "I'm glad I called you because you're the same person on video that you are in person." And that was somebody that I could see myself working with. So I'm looking forward to your proposal. And that's when the light bulb went off that I didn't really care what 90% of the people who were watching the video thought because I was never really even going to work for them. I only cared what the people
Right.
thought who could purchase my services, and that was just a select few. So that's who I was looking at in the lens. And from that moment, I realized I was going to sell all my construction tools, and I was going to dive deeper into the art of selling with video. And through the years, I've learned all the different possible digital advertising campaigns that are available. And the least expensive campaigns are the video campaigns. Now, there's a barrier to entry. In order to create a video, you've got to produce a video. But a video in itself allows for the end user to engage their sight, their hearing, and their kinesthetic touch. They can actually click on the videos in places to pause it, to play it, to turn up the volume, to click on a link. And for those reasons, it allowed me to generate the most qualified people into my lead generation program, no matter what it was or who it was for. And so I hope to share with some of those insights that I've discovered with you on this podcast. And that's all I've got for tonight. We don't have any live viewers to respond to on our first episode, Paratosh, but you and I both know it's not the short game that we're playing here.
See, we both know. First of all, thank you for sharing that story, Anthony, because I really think that that was something really insightful, because this is a communication problem that I am assuming everyone who will see this video will have experienced at least once. That when you send somebody an email or a text, right, it never conveys the tone,
Hmm.
right, and which creates misunderstandings lot many times. And I'm sure in personal or professional life,
Hmm.
everyone has at least once experienced this problem.
Yeah.
So I think I can completely relate to the fact that what kind of an awesome job videos are going to do, and that's the reason why we are here, right? We both were doing and supporting solo digital agency owners from quite some time,
Hmm.
right? But now doing this, coming on the video. So, guys, I would just like to add one thing, that if you are seeing me on a video, right, that means that Anthony is really good at making people comfortable with the camera. Because I should not say I still am a very camera shy person, right? I would always look for all the possible excuses that I can get to to not get in front of the camera.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's that. And thank you, Anthony, for sharing that. I
Yeah.
think this is going to be insightful. And
Yeah.
irrespective whether we will have more viewers in the coming episodes, whether how long we'll be able to sustain this or not, I will make sure that we both keep on doing this, because somewhere, some Paritosh, some Anthony might be just starting up and they might need our help. And we are all in for that.
Yep. That's what we're here for. Have a good day. In the the future, and I'll have a good night.
Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you are tuning into this, and just have an awesome week. Believe in yourself and keep growing.
See you next week.
See you next week.